Well, I believe that the death penalty is appropriate in certain circumstances. There are extraordinarily heinous crimes, terrorism, the harm of children, in which it may be appropriate. I believe may be appropriate. The death penalty is appropriate. The death penalty.
The death penalty. The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
The death penalty.
A change in policy today in Canada's position on the death penalty. The government confirmed it will no longer seek clemency for Canadians on death row in democratic countries, nor will it fight to get those prisoners sent back to Canada to serve life sentences here.
Well, here's my position on capital punishment or the death penalty. Okay, number one, it doesn't morally or ethically make any sense. The basic human right is the right to life.
In my personal opinion, the death penalty has no place in civilized society.
Personally, I believe that the use of the death penalty debases us as a society in our progress towards greater enlightenment.
The death penalty has no place in Canada. It is unjust and it is a denial of basic human rights.
We think it's unjust, we think it's wrong, we think it's irrevocable, we think it's the kind of punishment where you make irrevocable, unforgivable mistakes. And on that ground, we think Canada's got to lead the campaign to stop it.
The death penalty is cruel and inhumane punishment.
It's been more than 3 decades since the death penalty was abolished in Canada, more than 4 decades since a Canadian was executed, and we cannot go backwards on this very important fundamental issue.
The government's recent decision to stop advocating for clemency for Canadian citizens sentenced to death abroad, I find exceptionally troubling.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the federal court told the government that they must take all reasonable steps to stop the execution of a Canadian citizen facing the death penalty in Montana. The court said that the government's refusal to support this Canadian citizen was a breach of duty, unlawful and invalid.
We have a different way of doing things in this country. We do believe that it's cruel punishment. We do believe that it's not acceptable under our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And we do think that the Canadian government should be expressing that view very strongly.
One of the serious questions we have to ask is it merging our views in Canada on the death penalty to those of the United States?
For Canada as a nation to even be considering looking south and to the right for inspiration in our justice affairs is very scary.
And frankly, it's very un-Canadian.
That's not the Canadian way of doing things.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay, is urging the international community to maintain momentum towards the abolition of the death penalty. In a statement marking the 20th anniversary of the death penalty optional protocol, which is commemorated today, Pillay said that she was opposed to the death penalty in all cases, opposed to the death penalty in all cases.